You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
Well, hello there, Broncos country, and it's once again time for another episode of Building the Broncos. I am your host, Carl Dumler, and with me, as always, I have my good friend, Mr. Nick Kendell, and another great friend here, Mr. Erick Trickel. Man, it's an exciting week, guys. Are you ready?
Always ready. You know, it's supposed to rain the next few days, so I'll be stuck inside anyway. So ready to talk football with you guys. Ready for it just to get here. So tired of all the BS. Every single rumor is possible. You know, my wife kind of gave me the glazed eye over, but like when the Allies stormed the beach at Normandy, they gave up rumors that they were going to storm up that whole French coastline right there. So that way that nobody knew where they were going to land. They chose Normandy. Yeah. That's what it feels like right now with all these rumors. You know, like everything is possible. The Broncos are going to trade up. The Broncos are going to trade back for every single wide receiver. Or they're going to trade bulls. So it's just the overload of information. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm just ready for it to get here.
What about you, Eric?
I'm ready for it to get here. It's like this weird thing of I love the build up to it, all the stuff, just all the evaluations and everything. And then by the time we're like a week away, I'm just ready for it to be done with. I'm so tired from this, the not tooting my own horn or anything, but all the work that I've had to do in this, man, it's exhausing. Like I'm just ready to take a break.
Understand. Some of us don't take a break, Mr. Nick Kendell. No, I even saw somebody was releasing their 2021 big board. And I was kind of going, are you kidding? Okay.
Gotta be hashtag first.
Obsessed much, but yeah, it's true. And then you get made fun of for being the idiot that's had people that were top 5 who end up going like 6th or 7th round. But no, I'm excited to get to talk to you guys this one last time before the draft. And of course, we're going to be on and off. I know Eric's going to be on most of the day on Thursday, and Nick and I'll be on and off at different times. So make sure you guys are keying in and watching the show. Make sure you're also following us on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler MHH and Nick at Nick Kendell MHH and Eric at Erick Trickel. And make sure you're following the podcast Twitter account at BTB Football Pod. We just got ourselves a new logo, so we're kind of excited to share that here pretty soon. You know, it's kind of like the jersey reveal. It's probably got more build up than it actually should, but make sure you're subscribing to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And also head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Of course, we're going to have lots and lots of content getting pumped out there this week. So make sure you head on over. And that's part of the Maven Coalition and Sports Illustrated. And also know that our podcast is powered by Overtime Media.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
All right. So like Nick said, there's been rumors galore. Who to believe, who not to believe. It's kind of that kind of time. So we thought we'd talk through some of these rumors that are flying around. One of them, though, that is straight from the horse's mouth is Henry Ruggs. And he revealed that there are 3 teams in the top 15 that have been calling him constantly, checking in. And, of course, one of those is the Denver Broncos. And the other 2 are the San Francisco 49ers and the Oakland Raiders, or Las Vegas Raiders. What are we calling them now? Are they Vegas for sure, I guess?
Either way, they're trash, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, there you go.
They can play on the moon for all I care.
That's why they had to get a vacuum for that's why they had to get a vacuum for a stadium, because they are trash to get picked up. But and it kind of start off right up the bat. Bronx Legend coming in with the super chat. Appreciate it. Now with this hunger for Ruggs from multiple teams, do you think Elway and company would trade further up and go to plan B, not to be in a bidding war? Well, Eric, I'll just kick this off to you, buddy. How far up do you think the Broncos are willing to go here?
I think they're willing to go up to 10. Maybe they'll call about 8, depending on how the board is falling thus far, depending on what trades are happening. But I think 10 is a sweet spot to watch for Denver to move up to.
Have you heard anything about 9? I know that Daniel Jeremiah, a lot of people keep saying that the Jags are a team that are very interested in moving back, but that's an NFL rumor. There doesn't really seem to be much rumor in regards to the Broncos moving up to 9, but instead 8 with the Cardinals or 10 with the Browns.
So what I have been hearing is that depending on how the board falls, of course, that it's very well known that the Atlanta Falcons, they want to jump up in front of the Jaguars for CJ Henderson. So I think at 8, they're the team to watch. Then at 9, I'd be looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, who they really want to get up there. And they kind of want to kick off that wide receiver run that we're seeing. And they really want CeeDee Lamb, as all reports, everything that I've heard is pointing to, which would then leave number 10 there for the Broncos to move up to before, another team that like the Raiders or the 49ers or even the Buccaneers who may want to go grab a wide receiver.
That's unfair. That would be really Gronk, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, whatever wide receiver. I mean, I'm playing them on Madden, no doubt about it. Tom Brady, I mean, you can put me at quarterback. I'm throwing 4K.
Yeah. That was somebody had mentioned, well, it was Peter King that had talked about the Chiefs being interested in Henry Ruggs. And, I mean, what it would take to get up there to get him, it's not going to happen. But at the same time, you put him on that kind of offense and you're averaging 70 points a game. I mean, we're talking about the most legendary offense in NFL history if they all stay healthy. But it's still not going to happen. But that one might make me cry on draft night if they were able to get Ruggs somehow. Yeah.
I definitely agree with you there. So I guess the rumor is the Broncos may be looking up to trade up for a guy like Henry Ruggs. I know it was Ian Rappaport just yesterday said CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy for the Broncos. Now there's a rumor today that Jerry Jeudy's knee is a concern from one report. I do remember that being a thing back at the Combine as well. So there might be some smoke to that. And that would be interesting. I mean, I guess what I want to ask is, let's say Jerry Jeudy's knee, there is a little bit of concern there. How surprised would you be if Jerry Jeudy is the 4th wide receiver off the board?
I wouldn't be surprised at all, even before the knee stuff. And I remember talking to you guys privately about his knee and Henry Ruggs' knee, having some concerns about them back in January. Well, at the Combine, Henry Ruggs' knee checked out okay, but Jerry Jeudy, I guess there was a little bit more red flags. And at the medical rechecks that they had, his knee still didn't check out perfectly fine. And just with my biggest thing for him falling has been just the type of receiver that he is, and looking at these receivers of that type in the previous drafts, them falling. So I've always thought that it was plausible for him to fall, and I think that knee can make it a little bit more likely. Wouldn't be shocked if he is the 4th, maybe even 5th receiver taken.
Wow. Okay. And
yeah, do
you still have him? Didn't you recently just have him as your wide receiver 1 for the Broncos? Not to call you out on that, but when we joined each other on DVDD, did you have Jerry Jeudy number 1?
No, CeeDee Lamb.
You had CeeDee Lamb number 1, and Carl had Jerry Jeudy number 1. Now he's back to CeeDee Lamb.
Yes. So the last time the 3 of us got together to do a show, and we all did our big boards, I had Jerry Jeudy as my top wide receiver. And then I've come back to CeeDee Lamb. Just can't get past the fact that I've loved this guy for 3 years. And, just stick to your guns of what you know and what you like. And I just had to go back to CeeDee Lamb. And right now, for me, it's CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. Now, I like all 3. And all 3 it's so interesting. All 3 are so different from each other.
But they're all very different from Sutton as well.
Right.
Which I like a lot.
Right, exactly. And so that's why I don't mind any of them being on the Denver Broncos if that's what's going to happen on Thursday. I mean, because each of them, you can have a vision of how they're going to be used on this offense. And I mean, I just went back and watched Jerry Jeudy the last couple of days because, you had Woody Page. Was it Woody Page coming out and saying Broncos?
Yes. And then
we're going. Yeah. So there's been a lot of guys that have come out and said Jerry Jeudy. And I like his game. There's just some things to it. The knee is a concern. The drops are a huge concern. He's not great. Yeah, physicality. He's not great in traffic when he's trying to go up and make a catch. There's a couple plays where, I mean, honestly, it wasn't that tough of a catch, but you could tell like he was keeping his body back and his arms trying to extend out. And it was just, you could tell he was afraid of getting hit going over the middle. And so that obviously is a little bit of concern. That's why I've dropped him to my number 3 guy. I do think, I mean, if we're going to talk about this more as the offseason goes on, but the Pat Shurmur offense, Jeudy might be the best fit. I mean,
he might. It's really tough. I think all of them could fit. I mean, all those guys project in some level of Z. All of them can do some slot stuff. I think CD is the only one who can play a large amount of X snaps as well, but you have Cortland Sutton, so you don't have to worry there. And also, I mean, we know that Jerry Jeudy, when you watch him at Alabama, he's really good at getting off quickly, that release, but he does have a 2-way go. from the slot, that's something that slot receiver is always going to have an advantage in getting off press. I mean, that's one of my biggest concerns with Jefferson. I only saw 100 press snaps last year, only 5 snaps from the boundary. And Judy, he has the great releases, a great route runner, but it's just so much easier to get off that press, play in that slot position than the boundary, which you saw. I mean, granted, how much press are you seeing in the Big 12? It's pretty much Iowa State and TCU. But you saw it actually from Ruggs, and it was hit or miss. Like that Fulton game, not the best in regards to getting off press. Fulton, I mean, if Fulton played that way the whole season and Ruggs played the way he did that whole season, that one game, we'd be talking about an inverse of those guys' stocks, being completely honest. But It will be interesting. I have no issue with any of them. I did have Jerry Jeudy as my number 2. Now I'm kind of coming back to CeeDee Lamb as my number 2 with Ruggs as my number 1. I don't know. Like I've said the whole time, I think Chad has given me credit. It's ice cream flavor. Everybody has their own flavor preference. I'd be happy with any of them. Heck, get me all 3. We'll make a banana split. I don't know. What Neapolitan? I don't care. They're all great.
Just trade the next 2 drafts and just take all 3.
Yeah, and my nerdier comparison is the Pokemon. It's Bulbasaur, Charizard, or Charmander, and Squirtle. Did I say it in the right order?
Charmander, Squirtle.
Yeah. Well, there is a right choice there, but I mean,
it's Bulbasaur.
Squirtle.
I'm just kidding. It's Squirtle. It's Squirtle. For sure,
Squirtle is Henry Ruggs. So
yeah. All right. Well, let's get to a couple other rumors here that are flying around because these do affect the Broncos. Robert Caslow coming in. San Francisco is willing to trade 13 and 31. Thoughts?
They need to accumulate draft capital. I mean, they're a team that have a lot of picks. I mean, not a lot of picks, but a lot of guys are paid right now. They had no picks in 2, 3, or 4.
They're after the first round. That's in the 5th round. Is the next pick.
They have to get more picks. I mean,
and you saw the list of players that they're willing to trade right now that they just signed to their big contracts. D Ford, Quan Alexander, Tevin Coleman. I can't remember who some of the other ones were, but there was a long list of guys that are in some ways being overpaid for their work. And, this is part of the problem of you build up to a Super Bowl, you go pay all these kind of guys. If you miss on winning that Super Bowl, it's hard to keep them around and keep that team intact. And so now, they need to replenish, and having those 2 first-round picks helps. But you're right. I do think they're going to at least trade one of them. They might have trouble trading both.
Yeah.
So can I just turn around and have you pat me on the back, Nick? Because I remember not necessarily arguing with you about this, but I kept trying to tell you for the longest time that San Francisco is looking at trading down from 13. And you kept pounding the table that they're looking at receiver.
They are looking at receiver.
Well, they are, but not at 13. Their main thing is that they want to look at trading down. After that, everything that I've heard is that they are actually looking at defensive line. They want to replace DeForest Buckner and Solomon Thomas. He hasn't really lived up to his draft potential or anything like that. So they want to try and boost that defensive line back because that's a big thing that makes basically their whole defense work. So if Derek Brown or Javon Kinlaw slip, I could see them staying put at 13. If not, I could see them really pushing for a trade down.
It makes sense. I mean, anything can happen. I could see a team wanting to jump both the Bucs and the Broncos as well, tackle or wide receiver. It's just that's the draft game.
Yeah. All right. Well, John Boy coming in here with Sal Powell was on The Fan yesterday and made it seem that the Eagles weren't seriously contemplating trading up that high. Well, I mean,
or was it smokescreen season?
There's
a lot of innocent smoke going on right now.
It's all going to depend on price. I mean, that's for every team. They're all going to have their number in mind that they're willing to trade. And if they get into a bidding war, eventually somebody has to lose that bidding war. And at that point, if the Eagles would lose out, it's easy for them to say, well, we were never really that high on trading up that high anyway. If Broncos lose out, they're just like, we liked who was going to be there at 15. Like I said, it just depends on who's on which side of the equation here.
Or if Denver trades back, you're going to see Elway later that day. Well, we were always looking to trade back. That's what we love, the depth of this class. It's just it's PR. You got to say. It's
called covering your own butt. Like, you're not going to come out and say, yeah, we are exactly looking at doing this. I mean, we saw it with John Elway's presser, yesterday? Right? It was Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about how they're looking at trading up and they're looking at trading down. He's just covering all bases there with what he's saying. And then in regards to the Eagles, is everyone knows that Howie Roseman is one of the most aggressive guys. If he can get a fair deal to move up and get CeeDee Lamb, a guy who basically everyone in the draft world knows that they love, then they're going to do it. But as they said, it's all going to come down. You guys said it's all going to come down to the cost.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Yeah, so I want to get a few of these super chats before we get moving too much. Cherry Randall, the constant guy for us, $2. Eric's Tie Rocks. You got to love that. So it is a very nice tie. Also coming in, $2 again. Nick's Beer Fund. Let Maybe it's an adult beverage. You can't see the glass, so you'll never know. But
the mystery.
The mystery of it. Yes, indeed. And I saw a great question. It was from Kareem. I don't see it on here. What is the most boring pick the Broncos can do at 15? The least sexy. Pick.
Yep.
Yes, and Kareem, shout out to Kareem, always a big fan of the show and always appreciate your constant feedback. So least sexy pick, I'm going to jump up on first. I saw it first. I'm going to say Cesar Ruiz. 15th overall pick for a very safe interior offensive line prospect, especially after you already took Dalton Reisner last year, paid Graham Glasgow. I get it, but man, that is about as least sexy as it gets. And make a strength. That interior offensive trio would be as good as I can remember in Denver. That's very not sexy to me.
Derek Brown, nose tackle,
big sexy.
Yeah, it's a nose tackle. I mean, who gets excited about nose tackles? Yes, I understand, but
we're freaks.
Yes, but they are the guys that don't usually rack up a whole lot of stats, but yet they are the guys that do the dirty work. And I would love Derek Brown at 15, but I understand there'd be some people going, well, we missed out on offensive tackle, we missed out on wide receiver, and here we have this guy that we had a nose tackle that played decent last year. Why would we need a nose tackle? And I mean, I think he'd be needed, and I think he'd be a great fit, but I could see some issues with that.
So can I cheat and go like Brandon Mann? I'm pretty sure that would be the least sexy pick. Go in special teams.
What? Janikowski? Come on, man.
I would have a special meltdown live on the air.
I think we all would.
The Broncos took a punter.
In reality, I actually would have to agree with Nick. I think Cesar Ruiz, just because centers aren't a sexy pick in the first place. I really wanted to go Xavier McKinney but I started to think about that, and it's like it's a sexy pick for some, but for some that they don't see that need for a third safety because it's not a starting position. But in the end, it just comes down to the center. I mean, that's probably one of the not least valued positions, but it's just the least sexy position in general outside of special teams. So,
yeah. And Stu coming in pretty much saying and echoing everything that we are saying of, will it be Thursday already? I have somebody that messages every day how many more sleeps he has until he gets to see the draft. And we're all in that kind of boat that it's gotten to that point.
I told you not to tell anybody about that, Carl. That was just for you and me. That was.
I'm sorry. I know. Well, you send that picture to me every morning of when you wake up.
3 days? No.
So real quick, can I just point out that in the chat that Chris Sanders wants us to draft Chad?
There we go.
Chad's a little bit Rodrigo Blankenship's a little bit of a dip. He looks like a little bit of a dip.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, James Campbell coming in here with another super chat. Appreciate it, James. Keep up the great work, guys. Just wondered if you have any thoughts on Kenny Robinson, plus where you might go fit with the Broncos. One of my round 3 go-tos.
Isn't he the safety that took the XFL route to the draft?
West Virginia.
I don't know much about him, so I'll leave this to you guys.
I know that he had academic issues at West Virginia, and from my understanding, West Virginia isn't the best academic institution. No offense to any Mountaineers out there, but that's I guess that maybe is a little bit of a red flag. But playing in the XFL, how can you really evaluate him against the peers? He'll get taken somewhere in day 3, but it's the NFL. They're risk averse. Who wants to be the first team to draft a guy from the XFL? It's kind of they're going to be playing chicken with each other in that guard. So I think it's interesting, but I'm not super intrigued by him.
We got Suede Cordova coming in with punter at 15 would be the least sexy. You nailed it.
That's very true. Long snapper.
Oh man, we need one. You got rid of your Iowa boy.
They brought somebody in. I don't even know. We cover the Broncos. I don't even remember.
They knew they hit their Hawkeye limit.
That's true. They had to make room for Tristan Wirfs.
Jacob Romano, what offensive tackles do we like? Eric, you'd be a little more tuned into this one.
I think that if they were to go offensive tackle at 15, and this is, I think, really the only way they would is if Tristan Wirfs does fall to them. Outside of that, I'm looking at pick 46. If Ezra Cleveland falls there's been a lot of talk between them with the Broncos loving him. And I think that there's been some talk with Isaiah Wilson. I'm not sure how much love there is there. And then also probably some Josh Jones and Austin Jackson love in there as well.
I'm really interested in those guys that are projected kind of the round 3 right now. Obviously, it only takes one team to reach on a guy to make him not fall to round 3. But I've seen Prince Tegomanugu fall to round 3 a lot. Lucas Niang with some hip concerns. Matt Pert. Some guys that, in most classes, those guys are probably going definitely in the top 2 rounds. But this year, given the talents at the top, you could see them push a little bit. Guys that aren't the best year one. And with the way the Broncos are set right now, you could probably get by next year with the 2 tackles you have. But to get a guy with the tools and upside like Prince Tegomanugu, like Lucas Niang, like Matt Pert, it just makes a lot of sense for me. So those are guys that I think the Broncos would be interested in.
All right. Ginga Ninja 88 coming in with this question. I thought this was kind of a nice one. If we do get Judy, can't we still get a burner in the late 3rd to 5th rounds? Judy in the slot with Sutton and a burner on the outside would be deadly. I say this because of the Judy to Denver hype. This is another reason for me of why I have Judy 3rd, because most of his work was done in the slot, where in the NFL today, that is kind of, it's an easier position. I mean, you got 2 ways you can go. There's different ways you can win. You're not usually getting pressed because you're off the line of scrimmage. That's kind of it too, of if you get Judy, well, you still got to get another guy for the outside then. Where you get Ruggs or Lamb, they can play both spots wherever you want to put them, and you can really kind of designate, okay, this is where I want you because this is where the ball's going. Where Judy, I would worry a little bit. I mean, he played some outside, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't his main forte for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot, and this is something I haven't seen before. I kind of just made this connection the other week, but when you see some tackles, and this isn't true for all offensive tackles, like Garrett Bowles, for instance, but sometimes a tackle, if you're going to draft them early, you're going to let them fail outside first before you kick him inside. And because you get more value from the tackle position. I mean, that's a fact. It's a more valuable position, more sought after, harder to find skill set. That kind of view that the same with a boundary receiver versus slot receiver, where Henry Ruggs, if he struggles against press in the NFL, guess what? Just like a tackle struggling with speed on the edge, you can kick him inside. And I think that, he's not the most, he's not a Wes Welker type of slot, but you can get Taylor Gabriel at the minimum, the speed slot stretching the seam from Henry Ruggs. So he can fail on the outside, then kick inside. That's a question I have with some of these other slot receivers. And it's just easier to find. I mean, you find a Cooper Kupp every year, Henry Renfrow, that slot position it's just not as valued. So I would take any of the 3 guys, but I'm looking for reasons to differentiate the top 3 and all of them. And that's just enough of one that it's just like, okay, I'll drop you lower.
Right.
Well, you guys talked about the whole thing about taking the top Judy and everything. But if Denver were to take Judy, there are definitely some good speedsters for them to get a little bit later on. One of my favorites who I've been touting is Darnell Mooney out of Tulane. But the big thing is with any of these speedsters, obviously there's a reason you're looking at them 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. And with Darnell Mooney is the size is a little bit of a concern. The hands are a little bit of a concern. So that's something that you're going to be. But the good thing with Mooney, though, is most of his drops, they came on shorter throws instead of the deeper ones. So that's something to sit there and factor in as well. John Hightower, he's another one to watch out for. He's got some decent speed to it. And then Isaiah Coulter was the other one that I was trying to think of. But
Quez Watkins from Southern Miss as well. I think he ran one of the faster 40s. So there's
definitely plenty of options for it. But my thing is that I think that there's a lot more options to go and kind of fill out that other need that you have if you get Ruggs and find a complementary piece to him and Sutton than it is to find a complementary piece to Sutton and Judy, if that makes a little sense.
Right. All right. Terry Randall coming in here. How much do you think Ruggs' touchdown per touch percentage would go down in the NFL? Maybe get him 6 to 7 instead of 4. # state of being. Thanks, Terry Randall.
It's going to have to come down, right? It can't be 1 and 4. But, I mean, it depends on where he lands. If he goes to a team that isn't throwing the ball a lot, maybe that percentage stays up, but the volume's lower. If he doesn't have another good wide receiver opposite him, it just really where he lands depends a lot. But if his touchdown percentage remains 24% of every catch he makes, then that is, mind blowing. He's going to be one of the more efficient players in the entire NFL.
Right. I mean, I think the other thing that sticks out with me with his touchdown percentage is his yards per touchdown, which is like 29 point something. Yeah. And so, I mean, he's still going to have that big playability. It's just not going to be quite to the level. Instead of having a lot of guys that are running 4.6, 4.7 on the field, you're going to have a lot more of the 4.4, 4.5 kind of guys. So those angles close down a little bit quicker. But I also think that in the NFL, there's a good chance he's going to have higher volume than he did in college. I mean, and like I said, it does depend on the team he goes to. I just think like if he comes to Denver with Pat Shurmur, where he likes those quick throws, I think you're going to see a little bit higher volume go to a Henry Ruggs compared to what he had there in Alabama. Plus, I mean, the Broncos aren't going to be winning games 49-0 at halftime and abandon the pass game either. I mean, so there's a lot of factors that have gone into his stats. But I do think, yes, you're going to see his touchdown percentage drop a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But I also agree that he may not have the same touchdown percentage, but I think we're going to see a lot more opportunities go his way. And I think that what he offers without even touching the ball is going to be a huge help too. So, I mean, a lot of people are just focusing on his stats, but there's a lot of stuff that he does without even the ball in his hands that you have to factor in there. And that's why I think that he is actually the best fit for Denver, in my opinion, over CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are going to take a lot of touches. And so finding a guy that helps make those touches easier for everybody else, it makes a lot of sense. I know there's going to be people that when he doesn't have 1,000 yards are going to be like, oh, my goodness, why did we waste a first-round pick on him? But to me, I think what you need to be looking at is the jump in offensive production. If you see our offense go from 17 points to 25, 26 points, then yes, that guy was a huge reason that this offense all of a sudden started taking off. I think that's where people get so focused on the individual stats. I mean, of course, this is where fantasy football comes into play, and you get upset that this guy's not producing at the level that you would like. But again, if your offense is being very efficient, if they're playing more like a top 10 offense instead of a bottom 10 offense, you got to look at him and say he was a big part of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And we have a question here from Facebook user, nice name. Of the top 4 LTE, Becton weighs 360. Does that worry you? And I guess that's something that's intrigued me as well. You know, you see 360, you hear the concerns about the weight. And again, I think it was the Bob McGinn report saying that, you know, Becton loves to cook and food, which, you know, it's, you know, the state of the world right now. I've been doing a lot of cooking too, and I've been loving myself some food. So same Becton. But does that worry you guys? I think it would have for me, but he came to the combine and he had like no body fat. You know, it's not like he's sloppy. He's an outlier because he's so big. So it's like it makes it a little scary, but it's not like he's a slop.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
The thing that concerns me is not that he likes to eat or cook. I mean, I like to eat and cook. I could stand up and show you guys, but not going to. But the concern with me comes from the fact that there have been issues with his weight and keeping his weight in check at Louisville. That's where the concern lies. All right, you like to eat and cook. That's fine. You just got to keep your weight in check, which that's not hard to do at the NFL level. I mean, the Ravens have done a good job doing that with Orlando Brown. It's just putting them on a strict regimen. So that's all it takes.
Yeah. I think the other thing that concerns me a little bit, though, is just the human physical body. I mean, you see a lot of these offensive linemen when they leave the NFL lose like 100 pounds because they know that weight is not good for their body. And you add on another 40 pounds to that, and every step that this man has taken is an extra 40 pounds of pressure on each step. I do worry a little bit about his longevity. That's probably one of the main things for me because, I mean, if you're taking a guy in the first round, you are thinking, I want this guy to be a 2 to 3 contract kind of guy. I mean, Von Miller, that's what you want. And so I do worry some with that, but I mean, the ceiling is really high. So you have to kind of balance those two things of longevity compared to what this guy could really be in the NFL.
Yeah, and I know that some people will point out there haven't been many, 6'7", 360-pound tackles that have made it in the league, but there's not many 6'7", 360-pound people in the world. So like the sample size you're drawing from to begin with is rather small. So I don't know if you can take much statistical meaning from that saying or that fact.
Well, but I mean, I guess there's plenty of information to show more weight equals more health problems.
Yeah. I would need to see the study, honestly, because I know that they said one also about like quarterbacks being, too short, and that really hasn't been the case in terms of the body type. So I'm just being a stickler. Show me the data. I'm in that life right now, so I got to question everything. But it's definitely a point. I mean, the guy that people compare it to is Bryant McKinney, who dominated on the Vikings for many years. So he's interesting. I think that just because he is, I didn't love Orlando Brown. I thought, that big moving around, didn't think he was the best for the Broncos zone scheme, which when he was in the draft, they were running. But just having that size, especially with the quick pass offense, to have that much length that a guy has to go around, it matters. It does matter. Yeah. So I'd be fine with him. Like we took the mock draft we just did on whatever night that was, Sunday night. We ended up taking back in that 15.
Yeah.
I don't dislike him, but there's definitely a concern with him.
He, of the top 4 offensive tackles in this draft, he has the most risk.
I agree.
He also probably has the highest ceiling of the 4.
I'd say second.
Wirfs might have
in my opinion.
It's up there at least. But all right, well, let's get to this one because this is another rumor that's been flying around for the Broncos from Dirty Clean. There you go. What's the possibility that Denver jumps back late in the first round for a second pick? Thank you very much there, Dirty Clean, for the donation there. I think it's a real possibility. I mean, there was a stat put out not too long ago about how many undrafted free agents the Broncos could bring in realistically with how many players they already have signed, with how many draft picks, and the Broncos are like second lowest in positions available for undrafted free agents. So the idea, I mean, the Broncos are set up to trade up. They really are. And so if there's a guy that they like, that they want to get that extra year of protection contract wise for, and I know there's some cornerbacks they like. Eric talked about Ezra Cleveland a little bit ago. That's another guy that they really like, and getting him to develop and then still have 4 years left and if he doesn't start this first year. So it really does make a lot of sense for the Broncos, maybe not to just trade up at 15, but to trade up at 46 as well.
I mean, there could be a defensive back there that would make a lot of sense for the Broncos. They really need a 5th defensive back the way they're set up right now. Could be an offensive tackle. You threw out Ezra Cleveland. I think he'll probably go before that, reading the tea leaves, but maybe a Josh Jones, maybe an Austin Jackson. That's something depending on how the board falls. And the thing we are not talking about, which because it's so far off yet and we don't want to operate in the world of the negative, but how are they going to value 2021 picks? I think there's a better chance that there's going to be an NFL season next year. Again, who knows? But a college season, I think, is much more in jeopardy than an NFL season, given that college teams make most of their money off of the ticket sales where TV revenue is bigger for the NFL. It's just harder to run that. So could we be evaluating a 2021 draft class based on 2019 tape? I mean, that stuff matters. So the Broncos could be evaluating, and other teams for that matter, could be evaluating those 2021 picks totally differently. So that could be interesting to watch if the Broncos do want to get that extra pick and they still want to keep some of those top 100 picks. Maybe they're going to toss in a 2021 pick.
Yeah, I think that the report is that they want to keep pick 46. They want to add a 3rd pick in that top 50. So I think that if they're going to try to get back up into that late first, they're sending a 2021 first or second round pick. Unless they're sending a player, there's no way. Even if they don't trade up from 15, all 3 third round picks are unlikely to get them back up into that. So I just don't see it unless they offer that up. And as you were saying, Nick, is I think that teams will be valuing their 2021 picks a lot lower than they normally do, just because we don't know how impacted the draft process is going to be next year. I mean, a shorter season, they're talking about having it just be over I think next February and March for the college football season. So, I mean, that's going to have a huge impact on it. And then we're
definitely missing spring ball. I mean, that's super important for these programs. Like developmental program like Iowa, the spring period is huge. I mean, getting those guys in there, installing offense and defense, next season could be totally wild for college football. I mean, they might push it back. So it's really an unknown. It's scary. Obviously, that's worst case scenario, but that's a possibility that these teams, it's a variable that they need to analyze going in this draft to be completely prepared for it. And that's going to change how trades are made. The value, I mean, the Saints, the Eagles, teams that feel like they're built right now, the Packers, those teams, it would make sense to give up 2021 capital to go make a move right now, to move up there. I mean, imagine Ruggs going on to the Saints with Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders and whatnot. I mean, that's the way I'd be operating right now if I were those teams.
And then also what I was getting at too was that if they do postpone the season to next February, and then they have the draft at the normal time, the end of April, then that's a short time where, I mean, players are going to be banged up. We're not going to sit there and know what their injury statuses are going to be for the season. All this other stuff that falls out from postponing the season. I really think that teams are going to be evaluating these 2021 picks a round or two lower than what we're seeing them now.
Unless you can get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Which, right. if there is for whatever reason, if there is none of that kind of season, if we could get the past 3 years is like the average draft position, so you can get that year the Broncos finished as the 5th worst in that evaluation. How crazy would it be if the Broncos won that lottery and then had Trevor Lawrence? So I'll turn off the Xbox now. We can continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well, Buana B's coming in here. Hey, Eric, could you answer? I said, eat your cereals question on thoughts of Jordan Elliott. Been waiting for a few days.
So first of all, I just want to say I did eat my cereal. It was Trix and it was delicious. But as for Jordan Elliott, I'm sure that you guys will disagree with me on this, but I think in the NFL, he needs to add another 10, 15 pounds and play inside, like a 0-1 technique. I love the athleticism that he can bring to that position. It's not bad as in 5 tech, 3 tech, but I think that he can definitely do a lot more damage on the inside as a 0-1 technique.
I think he's more of a 1-3 and a 4-3. So, like, especially if you're playing that 2-pack. I mean, Shelby Harris, we kind of saw it last year. What's his best position? They played him at 5. They played him at 0/1, and neither of those really were the best for him. He was best in that nickel package where he could be that 1 and 3.
Well, I was thinking, like, you can use him as against the run and base packages of a 3-4 front. There you go. He's a 0-1. And then for, like, the Denver Broncos specifically, they go to their sub packages. There you have a 3 tech.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, KR coming in here. Thanks for all your dedication, guys. Can't wait for Thursday. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. Thank
you very much, Christy.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. And, we're ready for Thursday. It has reached that point.
And we also, I mean, obviously, Christy is a super chat superstar a lot of times for Huddle Up. Good to have you over here on the Good podcast today. No, I'm just kidding. But we got to shout out to our former last week's super chat superstars. Stu McPeak, always coming in clutch. Paul, haven't seen Paul yet today. Paul 80026. ARX_D, always good to be chat on Twitter a lot. Vote Moose 80. A0350 Legend. Terry Randall, always super chat superstar for us. Brian Greenfield. Brian Happenstall, King Hicks, Liberal Hater, and Richard Pasha, as well as Nab Ludlow. So appreciate you guys last week, and always, we'll try to circle back the following week and give you guys a shout out.
All right, I did want to get to one question here from Jeremy Sean A. Why can't Mims be an option at 15? If you wait till the second, he'll be gone. If he's projected only 5 days spots lower and you want a wide receiver, just take him. His combine was ridiculous and he blocks.
Okay, I guess we're going to have to play the NFL draft here. And what teams do is they look for reasons not to like these guys. So I'm going to tell you why Mims kind of scares me a little bit. Obviously, that wide open offense at Baylor. And you saw him he tracked the ball pretty well, but his hands were inconsistent. He had the broken hand 2 years ago, but it still was inconsistent how he pulled it in. And for as physical he is as a blocker, Mims over the middle, I just don't see it with him. I don't know if it's a hips thing, a fluidity thing, or just a mentality thing, but he just is not strong over the middle. So I get the outside boundary rush there. I'm looking for a little bit more versatility. That's enough of the differentiator for me. And I think he's got a much lower floor than somebody like Justin Jefferson. That being said, he is my wide receiver 5. If the Broncos don't get wide receiver at 15 or with their first pick, and they can move up in a reasonable pick and still get Mims or trade back from 15, I'd be all for it. I like Mims a lot. I just don't think he is as good as those big 3.
Right. And he's less NFL ready than those 3. That's the other thing for me is I see so many inconsistencies in his game. And I mean, you can go watch one game where he just absolutely dominates, has some great catches, some great plays. And then the next game, there's hardly anything that he does. Now, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Ruggs, but I still see Ruggs doing more to help other players on the offense than I ever see Mims doing. And I worry that he's one of those guys that's going to take 3 to 4 years before you ever see if the investment was worth it. Where I feel like Ruggs, Judy, or Lamb come in, and 2020, they are here and making a huge impact for that offense.
I saw some. Go ahead, Eric, actually. Sorry.
I definitely agree with what you're getting at. I think that with some of these other receivers that they can come in day one and they're making an impact right away, even if they're not getting the ball. I'm not so sure Denzel Mims is doing that. He reminds me very much of DJ Chark with what he offers up on the field, and DJ Chark needed some time to be developed and everything, just as Denzel Mims does. I'm not as concerned about his hands. I mean, there are some concerns, but the broken hand, I think, had a big part in playing with some of those drops. But, yeah, I mean, he was schemed open, which obviously I don't want to hound too much on that because, I mean, if good offensive coordinators, you're trying to do that for your receivers. But my biggest thing is that when he was facing up some of the top corners that he had to face against, he disappeared. They took him out of the game completely. There was times where I can't remember who it was he was playing against, but it was one of the top corners. I want to say TCU, but that doesn't feel right. But towards the end of the game, he just kind of started giving up on plays, not going 100% because he was getting just beat up off the line of scrimmage so much that he just kind of was like, yeah, I'll take it a little bit easy.
Yeah. All right. Well, Glenn Hauser coming in with a super chat. I feel like I am more armed for this draft than any previous one, and I live and breathe NFL. Thanks, guys. Hey, that's like the biggest compliment we can get. Because I mean, we all, I know you guys put in more work than I do, but we all put in a lot of hours to getting ready for the draft, and we love it. We love the work, but it is a lot of work. And so we appreciate those kind of compliments, guys. And we appreciate all of you being here, wanting to talk this with us, because it gets us excited. We probably talk 365 about the draft if you let us, but and then Nad Ludlow, there we go, coming in with a super chat. Appreciate all the content, guys. Great job. Again,
also,
thanks, guys.
Shout out to Nad. Your keg came early.
Ooh, that's
ready for Thursday. That's how I would be if I was the GM too. I'd love to, who doesn't have a first-round pick this year? The Bills. Stephon Diggs was my first-round pick. Bring the kegs. We're good.
Yeah. All right, David Kilgore coming in. Sorry, guys, we're trying to get caught up on everything because we're all three long chatters, and we want to get as much as we can. David Kilgore coming in with the super chat. Speaking of Trevor Lawrence, if Locke tanks, do we go after him for 2021? Well, depends how much we tank. If we're like a top 3 pick in the draft, of course, you're probably going after Trevor Lawrence. You're going after a quarterback. It just – yeah, it depends how far we can tank and how much it's going to take to get up to get him, because right now they're talking about this guy being that generational talent. And my guess is if anybody has the number 1 overall pick, they probably need a quarterback, and they're probably going to take Trevor Lawrence. So the odds are either the Broncos have to have the number 1 overall pick or really hope that a team that takes a quarterback early in this draft happens to get the number 1 overall pick and are willing to trade it, kind of thing. And the Broncos are high enough to make that kind of trade. But so the odds are against the Broncos having Trevor Lawrence, but I'd never say never.
So real quick, I think that, if Locke fails, I think that Denver's looking at a top 10 pick at the very least anyways. That's going to put them in a position to go after a quarterback. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is a guy. I think that they might really like Brock Purdy. And yes, I said that only to get you going, Nick. But, Justin Fields, Brock Purdy, and then there's the guy from
Newsom, the transfer to Georgia.
There's Jamie Newsom as well. But there's another guy, too, that's been getting a lot of hype on my Twitter timeline, a lot of hype from people that I speak to in the NFL. But I can't remember. He's a small school guy.
It's the North Dakota State quarterback.
Yes, North Dakota State. Thank you. It's that quarterback, too, and he's getting a lot of hype as well. Seeing a lot of comparisons, well, not necessarily comparisons, but a lot of things of saying that he's like a cross of Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes. So I haven't actually watched him yet. I have no idea, but there's definitely options for the quarterback class next year at this time. I just want to point out, though, last year at this time, we were talking about Jake Fromm. We were talking about, just as not you, and I don't think I was either, as a first-round quarterback, but all these other guys, too, a lot of people were talking about Jacob Eason, him rising up to it, Jordan Love. Obviously he's still there. Tua Tagovailoa. Joe Burrow wasn't even being mentioned, so a lot can change between now and then.
Yep, agreed with that. And shout out here to Buana Beast, brought up an interesting topic here. Nick, why not give a shout out to your latest article? Me writing an article, giving myself a self-promotion, that doesn't sound like that's something I would do. But the Broncos landed the terrific 12. So this is something that I thought has been really interesting in regards to the media, us included, versus what Daniel Jeremiah and some of the people who are more insider than we are. So right now it does seem like when you run a simulation, et cetera, there's a group of 12 positional players that are this terrific 12. That's assuming that 3 quarterbacks are gone. There's going to be 1 player there you like for the Broncos. But then you listen to Daniel Jeremiah, et cetera, saying that this year's draft is going to be wild. You guys, the NFL talking heads, are chasing your tails more than ever before. So I guess I got to say, do you believe in that top 12, or is there going to be just a total randomness in those picks? So the top 12 would be those top 3 wide receivers, the top 4 offensive tackles. There's 7 right there. The 2 interior defensive linemen, and then Simmons, Okudah, and Young. Is that something that's going to happen, or is there going to be much more variance? Is a guy like C.J. Henderson, Calebon Chasen, DeAndre Swift, Ezra Cleveland, are those guys going to jostle, or do you think there is a really definitive top 12?
I think that for the most part, there's a pretty definitive top 12. I think we are likely to see at least 3 of the 4 top offensive tackles. I mean, I think we're going to see both top corners in Okudah and Henderson. I think that we're going to see Justin Simmons, Derek Brown, Javon Kinlaw. I think they're all going to go up there in that range. But I would not be shocked at all if we see a couple surprises, like, say, Atlanta's not able to get up ahead of the Jaguars, but they're able to move up to like 11 or 12. I could see them going and getting a Christian Fulton or AJ Terrell or one of those guys. So we can definitely see surprises. And I wouldn't throw anything out about Clavion Chasen going in the top 15 either.
Yeah. Well, EA Shalom coming in here. What are your thoughts on what Ian Rappaport posted on Twitter from a GM who said all of the mocks are way off?
So a successful mock is one that gets about 20 to 25% of the picks correct. So they're already very far off about it. And this year, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case because there's so much uncertainty with this draft process.
Yeah, but at the same time, because they haven't had as many interviews and things like that, I wonder if because they're watching some of the same things we are. I mean, they have more of the all 22 film kind of thing, but they're basing their evaluation more on film than on meeting a player, that kind of thing. So could it almost help to, I guess, bridge that gap between the two groups?
And just real quick, KR comes in and says mocks are mocks. And that's true. And I can't remember who it was, but there was one person I spoke to once, and what he said was mocks are made to be mocked.
Yeah. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, I guess, is kind of how the old saying goes. But you're right. You're setting yourself up because not everybody's going to agree. I mean, look at when we did our mock draft. I mean, all of us talk football players all the time together, and we still couldn't agree on who to take even in the first round, let alone throughout the rest of the draft kind of thing. And so it is. It's everybody has their opinions, and everybody has their players that they get hooked on and say, this is the player we have to take. And others say that would be stupid. It just, that's why the draft is such an exciting thing, because it's such an unknown. I mean, you could sit there and pound the table. I've had players I pounded the table for, and then I'm kind of going, I hope nobody remembers I pounded the table for that player.
Paxton Lynch.
Malik.
Yes. You didn't have to say his name, Nick. Thanks a lot.
So we have some more comments coming in here, but I actually thought one would be interesting for you guys. What would be the pick that would make you pull your hair out for the Broncos at 15? And I guess we'll start with Carl here, the least likely guy to pull his hair out from a Bronco pick.
For a realistic one, would be Javon Kinlaw.
Javon Kinlaw pulling your hair out at 15. Now, why is that?
I like the player. Don't get me wrong. He's a developmental project. There's the knee concerns. The starting defensive line is set there. I understand, like, there's a lot of guys that are on 1-year contracts, so you got to find somebody for the defensive line eventually. But I just also see the Broncos having this 3-year window with Drew Lock on a rookie contract. And I'm wanting guys that I feel like can be quicker impact players than what I think Kinlaw can be. And like I said, I'm talking about realistic players that they can maybe take. I mean, I guess we could go Justin Jefferson. I'm not a big fan of his. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. Mims is another that I probably wouldn't. There's a few guys that have been listed, I guess, towards the Broncos that I wouldn't be too excited about.
Yeah, so I'm afraid Eric's going to take mine, but I'll kick it off to Eric.
Now, would you trade Paxton Lynch for Chris Jones?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. And I do think Kinlaw is a talented player. Don't get me wrong. It's just a matter of how quickly is he going to make an impact? How much is that knee a huge issue? There's some of those things that are thrown in there. David Cromlow's coming in here. Might steal one of your guys's. I'd punch my laptop if we take Kenneth Murray. That's yours? Okay. And I agree. Again, I was trying to think of realistic players that I've seen mocked to the Broncos, and Kinlaw's been one of them that it's not that I probably wouldn't be pulling my hair out. I'd just be like, okay.
I do not like Kenneth Murray for the Broncos. Watching his tape, I get that he makes splash plays, but especially with this Fangio defense, I feel like the defensive integrity is so important. You need guys to not bite on play action, not to fall for the pre-snap motion. And watching Kenneth Murray, I feel like I charted as many plays where he read it wrong, overcommitted, and gave up a big play as he was making a splash first-round caliber linebacker play. Now, if he can clean it up, fantastic. But it's just way too boom or bust for me for a linebacker. I mean, a linebacker that has coverage questions. So I don't get that at all.
I definitely agree. Kenneth Murray's not the guy I'm going to go, but I think that he would make a lot more sense if Denver didn't have Alexander Johnson or Todd Davis.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that he would make a little bit more sense. And I do want to address Jody Moncrief. She says that at 15, you need a starter. Kinlaw would not start. On the defensive line, Kinlaw would be a starter in everything but name. But
at corner, at defensive line, and at defensive back, I mean, especially for those first-year guys, you're rotating guys as it is. You want to have as good, 4 or 5 guys. I mean, they took Shane Ray that first year, and he didn't really, start. Didn't matter. You get after the gosh damn quarterback. You need depth on defense. So, pardon my French. Sorry, Carl.
You're good.
There's 2 ways that I could go for this. For the one that pulled my hair out, I'll go with the less controversial one and say C.J. Henderson. I like his playing coverage, but I think that the whole thing of tackling is non-negotiable. Like, even before Vic Fangio, I want my corners to tackle. Like, it's something that I do prioritize with them, and he has such an issue with it, and the technique's not great, and then just a high missed rate is he'd make me pull my hair out, and he's just the less controversial one of the 2.
Right. All right. Ron W. coming in with a super chat. Always appreciate Ron. Hey guys, what draft
great
pick?
Smile.
I know. Always brings a smile on my face. Hey guys, what draft pick and move capital would make you jump up and celebrate? So we're getting the opposite end of this now. I mean, they only have to give up their last 3, which is pick 95 and pick 117, their 4th rounder, and they trade up and get any of the wide receivers or Tristan Wirfs or Okudah or Simmons. I honestly, if they get Okudah or Simmons, I'm going to do more than jump up and celebrate. Wow, way to take the entire list.
Oh yeah, right. But I guess I will go with Ruggs as long as the price is amenable.
Yeah,
trading up to 1 and taking a long snapper.
Boom.
There we go. No, but it would be the same thing as Nick. Just giving up something like 95, even 83, and then just a combination of either 118 or 178 and moving up to get to number 10 and getting Henry Ruggs or CeeDee Lamb, those 2 especially, I think I would be celebrating. I'd be very happy with that, which is weird because I used to be not so high on Henry Ruggs for Denver.
I know. You've come around, man.
I beat you down. And now,
I wore out. I gave up.
All right. Peterson Creative coming in with the super chat. Really appreciate it. Bleeds Orange and Blue. Go to Twitter. Follow him. Keep up the good work, fellas. Stoked for the draft. Hashtag Nick's Beer Fund. Hashtag new tie for Eric. Hashtag Carl needs a Coke. Yeah, sorry. I went with the plain old water today again.
You
got to get hydrated. I did. Well, I did a workout right before we started our show. So I was a little – I know. It's why I'm all shiny here.
Workouts were in the before times. Back when I could go to the gym. I missed the workout. Did I tell you guys I saw we have a path by my apartment, and there is a beaver or something around there that chews down a lot of the logs. And the other day I saw 2 massive bros out there lifting logs. Can't make it up. Just like guys being dudes. I really appreciated it. Getting ready for the draft.
All right. Kevin Graham coming in with a super chat. Thanks for keeping me up to date on Broncos news every day. Hey, happy to do it. We love doing it. I mean, if we could talk Broncos 24/7, even in our sleep, probably our wives think we do at times.
There's that meme that it's like, oh, he's probably thinking about other girls, and it's the guy like thinking about something totally not related. Yeah. That's me every night going to bed. Man, what if the Broncos move up to like blah blah blah? Or what if they position themselves and get a 2021 first, and they can look at next year's wide receiver class literally every single night? So
yeah, well, I wanted to get this one in from Jeffrey Green. I've seen him posted a couple times. Sorry, the super chats are not working. I don't know what's going on, but super chat's not going through. What's final answer for each on each? Trade up, stay put, or trade down? I'll say trade up. I think they're going to trade up. Yeah,
I think they trade up.
Is he asking like who the targets would be in each of those cases? Because that's how I take it.
Oh, okay. Well, trade up. I guess I would say Henry Ruggs. Stay put. I would say
hopefully one of the wide receivers.
hopefully, yeah, one of the wide receivers. But I'll say Javon Kinlaw. Trade down, I would say Mims.
Can't disagree. I mean, there's probably some like Xavier McKinney, Christian Fulton, Justin Jefferson. They're the guys I think they'd be targeting if they trade down myself.
I think that trading up, I think they're looking at Henry Ruggs. If they're staying put, they're hoping that Henry Ruggs or CeeDee Lamb falls to them. If not, maybe Justin Jefferson or a cornerback. If they're trading down, I definitely think Justin Jefferson, Denzel Mims, or a cornerback like Christian Fulton or Jeff Gladney.
So, and man, all of a sudden the super chats are lighting up.
Yeah,
so, Carl,
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to these. WE coming in the super chat. Hey guys, we trade up to 10. Will we have enough picks to fill our needs? Thanks. Yeah. Well, it depends on the cost, I guess. If you're trading all 3 third-round picks to get up to 10, then that's going to make things a lot more difficult. If it's just 1 third-round pick and one of the late-round picks or a 2021 third-round pick or fourth-round pick or whatever, there's still plenty of picks to fill out the rest of the roster. I mean,
an example, just look at last year's draft where, a lot of people commended Elway for having such a good draft, traded back, got Noah Fant, Dalton Reisner, and Drew Lock, and Draymond Jones played a little bit, but that was considered a good draft and deep draft, and you got 2.5, 3 contributors considering how many games Drew Lock played. You can't really look at the draft, especially after that first round, as far as needs go, because they're about depth and down the line. They're investments. They're not about the next upcoming season. So the Broncos are going to have needs either way. It's just how it is. There's no such thing as a perfect roster even. I mean, look at last year's Chiefs. Their linebacker core was absolutely trash. Their offensive line, I would say, was not as good as Denver's on paper. So, you just have to stack it, and hopefully your strengths and star players and coaching staff can help meld it all together and put out the best overall team.
all right. Paul coming in. Hey, Paul. I was getting a little worried.
I know. Where were you?
I know. But no, appreciate it, Paul. Does Chenault Video vault Chenault backup boards?
I did not see this video, so I do not know. I would still be scared taking him in the top 2 rounds. If he's there early 3, I'm calling to move up and get him because, that's a lottery ticket and you got a high chance there. He's an explosive player when he's healthy. But that video, it's kind of like how much stock I put in Cam Dantzler running a 4.38 on his pro day.
Yeah.
I don't buy it. I'm not there. I'll buy it. Sorry, I'm a skeptic.
All right. Well, Jeffrey Green says, no, just what each of you wants to do. Sorry. Personally, I'd love to trade back and still get Henry Ruggs, but the realistic thing is I'd rather go ahead and just secure our wide receiver. I think if anything on our Sunday mock draft really just showed me, just go get your guy. Don't just kind of hope that he's going to fall to you. Just go ahead and go get him. Fill out the rest of this offense. Well, the offense isn't completely complete. But if you go get your other wide receiver, the weapons are really complete, in my opinion. You've got your 2 wide receivers. You've got a tight end that's going to be dynamic. You got 2 running backs that are dynamic. You've got an offensive line that's not terrible. You got a quarterback that's set up, and you still have some room to be able to go get another wide receiver to play that slot or whatever position you need him to play. So I'm okay trading up. I'm okay with being aggressive and just go get your guy.
Personally, I would like to stay put and take any of those 12 guys that I really like, assuming 3 quarterbacks come off the board. However, you're playing with house money. If Elway has a specific wide receiver he likes, depending on the price, I don't have an issue with it. It's if they're trading, let's say they trade 2/3, their top 2/3 and 15 to move up. I don't love that as much, but We'll see what happens.
Yeah, just a reasonable trade up is I'm fine with that. Go get your guy. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not big for trading up in the first place, but that's
only for quarterbacks, if you can help.
Not even for quarterbacks. I'm not a big trade up guy. Period. Yeah. You can give me the stink eye.
Tell that to the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Carl, that was one of our first drafts we covered.
Yeah, tell that to Denver and Paxton Lynch, man.
Yeah, that's true, but you got to go for your guy.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Is you got to go get your guy as long as the trade up is reasonable. The price is, anyways.
All right, Steven Bumgardner coming in. I believe the Broncos are trading up on Thursday. Hard to disagree.
Oh man,
there's been a lot of smoke on that topic for months now that the Broncos are looking to trade up. So I think there is something to it. I know the Broncos have called ahead. Of course they have. They would do that every year. But I do think that there is a price that they like, and I think they're willing to make it.
Yep. I definitely agree. So we'll see. Again, the talks about 8, talks about 10. A lot of talk about the Jags looking to trade back, but not connected to the Broncos for whatever reason. Eric kind of talked about some of that earlier, but I do think in the end the Broncos do trade up, and I know there's smoke for Jerry Jeudy. I know there's some talk about CeeDee Lamb. I just feel like Henry Ruggs is their guy. So we'll see what happens. Maybe that's just my own bias coming in. I've talked myself into it. That tends to happen this time of year. I mean, gosh, there's so much freaking BS out there. There's so much smoke, but who knows? Yeah. I'm just ready for it to be Thursday.
All right. McMills, 187. I love this show so much. Carl, Nick, and Eric, you're the best of the best.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you guys very much.
I always think of Top Gun when I hear that. You're the best of the best.
If we're the best of the best, which one of us is the best of the best of the best?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, don't answer that.
Again, it's the ice cream flavor debate. It's the Pokemon debate.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. So, but I didn't mean to do the 12-ounce pills. We're going to be excited to do that as well. I'm going to be doing that. I got some trash talk going on here. So, whatever. Derek Baird. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
All right. Yep. This is my job. All right. Derek Baird coming in with a super chat. Guys, we all know Vic knows his linebackers. Do you believe this smoke might be for Simmons if he falls past 7?
I mean, if Simmons falls past 7, I'm calling. But again, how much is it going to cost you to go get him? It does sound like all of a sudden this week, maybe it's a team trying to tank his stock, but Simmons all of a sudden is the guy that's slipping. You know, like let's say the Giants all of a sudden are offensive tackle at 4. That seems like the direction they're going. Well, not going at 5, going at 6. The Chargers probably not. Then the Panthers makes sense there, but is he kind of a little bit like Shaq Thompson already? Maybe. Then he slips from there. So it'll be interesting. I think if he does fall to 8, I'm calling. I don't think that Simmons is the linebacker, though, personally. He's not uprooting A.J. Johnson or Todd Davis, but I'd be calling.
Yeah.
I don't think that Denver's viewing him as a linebacker. I don't think that they would be looking at him trading up. I think that they're pretty set on a linebacker, and I don't think he gets past 7.
All right. Nat Ludlow coming in again. Appreciate it. Hit, tap, smash that like button, people. We appreciate that, Nad. And it's right. Well, on my screen, I guess it's somewhere up there.
It's inversed here. It's really messy.
Yeah. All right. Mark Lopez coming in here with the super chat. Man, we appreciate everything, guys. It's been fun doing this episode. I know we have to get out of here pretty quick, but who would you rather have if we moved up? CeeDee Lamb or Ruggs? I feel that Ruggs has more to play for because of a loss of a close childhood friend. Do you believe that makes a difference for the Broncos? I'm not sure the lost childhood friend. I mean, it's part of his story. And obviously you see that he's worked at his game. We had a talk on Twitter earlier about being able to see from 2018 to 2019 of how much he improved just as a route runner and things like that. I'm not sure how much that would factor into whether to take one over the other per se. Personally, I got to stick to my big board. So I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb. I have him as my number one guy. And it's as much as I love what Ruggs brings to the table, and I feel like he opens up the offense a lot more than Lamb, I still love what Lamb brings to the table. I mean, he can be that true number one wide receiver in the NFL. He's that one guy that I can see being a top 5 wide receiver someday.
I'd be happy with any of them, honest to God. You know, I'm just excited for it to get here. That's what's so great about the NFL draft. I mean, it's literally Christmas for everybody. So many teams are going to get better on Thursday, on Friday. So it's a win for across the league, and it's a win for the NFL. I mean, it's the only bit of sports normalcy we're going to have for who knows how long. So just really excited for it to get here, and thankful that, you know, we have this platform and this ability to watch this, analyze this, talk about this, and watch the Broncos get better.
Yeah, I would, as in regards to the question, I would rather go CeeDee Lamb. It's the same reason as Carl. He's actually my number one receiver. I do think Ruggs can do a little bit more, but I think that Lamb can just be dominant in the NFL. It reminds me so much of DeAndre Hopkins, and just putting him in this offense, I think that you can do so much damage with that. And as for having more to play for, I could definitely see where you're getting at with that. I do think that adds some more to his motivation, but it's not a one way or the other kind of thing for me with that in regards to that.
Yeah. All right, David coming in, and really appreciate everybody today. What do you guys? Yeah, what do you guys think of Gronk going to Tampa Bay?
Fun, crazy. Yeah. How did they get the physical done already? Who knows what's going on? But it'll be a lot of fun. And any sort of storyline, anything that we can have to bring us back to football, I'm here for it. I mean, I'm not the biggest basketball guy. I do like myself some baseball, but football can dominate every single day for the rest of the year, rest of my life. I'm about it. Gronk going to Tampa, that's exciting.
I'm curious to see what it's all going to be. I really like I'm really curious about the mesh of the Bruce Arians offense and what Tom Brady likes. That's what's going to be the most interesting to me, and especially adding Gronkowski to that with OJ Howard and Cameron Brate. They can do some fun things if they keep all three of those tight ends.
Yep. And so, guys, we got to get out of here soon. We got one more here. Oh, go ahead.
Come on, Nick.
I blame you, Carl. No, it's me. It's definitely me.
Brian Haptonstall. There we go. And wearing a hat. Never mind. Bad joke. Go Broncos. Can't wait till Thursday night. John always pulls the unexpected.
That's something, okay, great topic to end on here. You know, everybody, we've been saying the Benjamin Albright, et cetera, wide receiver, Woody Page saying wide receiver, some people saying offensive tackle. The Broncos, they ended up trading for A.J. Boye when everybody was saying Byron Jones, you know, okay, pretty unexpected. I think Kliss did mention A.J. Boye in one of his articles, but again, he listed like 10 other cornerbacks in that article. Okay, Eric too. Where is he at? Gosh, the fucking thing. And then Jarrell Casey, I don't think anybody said anything about that. Graham Glasgow, I think maybe Troy Rink mentioned it once. But the point is, the Broncos have been as, I guess, tight-lipped as they've ever been in regards to leaks and the media being right on track with what they're going to be. So John always pulls the unexpected. I think it's going to be even more unexpected this year. So who knows what it'll be? It could be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, with A.J. Boye, I knew that he was an option for Denver back in January, not in a trade. All the talk, everything I was told was when he gets cut. So the trade was a little bit unexpected. And then before Jarrell Casey, I remember telling you guys privately that Denver was calling around about defensive linemen, but Jarrell Casey's name never was mentioned to me. So
for a seventh.
Yeah, for a seventh too. I mean, it makes a lot of sense with knowing the information with the money and everything, but yeah, that definitely was a little bit of a surprise. And if you guys don't mind, there's one thing I want to touch on real quick. And
Kick him out.
Any update on draft night pod logistics? So, guys, I'm sure Chad Jensen tomorrow night will sit there and provide you with a lot more information about it. What I know right now is that we will be going live a little bit before the draft. We're going to be rotating on throughout the night. For the most part, I will be there with you guys all night long. Nick, Carl, Lance, Chad, and Zach are all going to be jumping in and out throughout the draft night. But earlier on Thursday, 12 Mountain Standard Time, so noon, I'll be going live. I'll be going live for about an hour. I'll be revealing my final first-round mock draft based off of all the information I'm hearing. I'll be talking about that, taking questions and everything, so you guys can go join with that.
Eric is the only one whose haircut won't change due to the virus.
Correct.
Oh, my God. That one killed me.
All right, well, I did want to get this. We got another super chat coming in from Nad. Eric, thanks for all your work this draft season. I also want to say thanks, Nick. Thanks, Eric, for all your guys' work with the draft. And it's been a fun one. And I'm excited to see how it all shows up here on Thursday.
So just because of that comment, I'm going to go shave my head before Thursday night.
And it'll be back to what it looks like by Friday morning.
Yeah, Friday, yeah.
So, all right, folks, we got to get out of here. Chad gets a little bit upset at us when we go an hour long. We would be here for 3 hours if we could get away with it, but I know that has some issues.
Night.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday, that's what it's going to be. But appreciate everyone coming on and joining us today. Again, personal shout-out. My final mock draft should be released sometime tomorrow, 7 rounds. So excited for that. Obviously, you can find Carl on Twitter, at Carl Dumler, MHH. You can find Eric, at Erick Trickel. Guys, make sure you go follow them before the draft. Before the draft happens, I know Eric is approaching 3,000. Carl, do you have any idea what you are at? I know you're not the most what's the word I'm looking for? Entitled person? Self-absorbed, like Eric and I are. But make sure you guys are going to follow them because we got to obviously. Okay, well, we need to get Carl to at least 1.5K. So thank you guys for going out there and following him. Also follow Mile High Huddle at Mile High Huddle. Obviously, also at BTB Football Pod. Go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment because we go back and read those. Read the comments on YouTube. We really appreciate those guys, good or bad. I mean, we read them. Sometimes we'll laugh about sometimes the zany ones as well. But we really do appreciate any comments, any criticisms, any critiques we can get. make sure you guys are following along for the next 2 days. I mean, it's draft season, guys. I guess final take before we get out of here. Anything you want to leave the people? Eric, since you guessed today, you can go first.
Make sure you guys are also following at DVD_pod as well. That's the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast.
All right. And Carl?
Well, I think Buona Beast, head to milehighhuddle.com for more articles and access to your favorite podcasters. I mean, we love that you come to the podcast, but go to the website too. I mean, we can get a little more detailed on just one subject compared to here where we're taking on about 100 different subjects. So make sure you head on over there because, Eric I've lost count of how many draft prospects you've just analyzed just their game and put an article out about them. So, again, make sure you guys head on over there. And I'm just excited to join you guys on Thursday and throughout the weekend and just see how the Broncos end up.
Yep. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate you, and we will see you soon. But as always, I'd like to leave you with a Go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.